It's early, and most likely a weekend morning. It's cold and foggy, and the sun has just come up. You're tired, but the promise of a warm and deliciously frothy breakfast pulls you out of bed. The ingredients that make up pajarete are sugar, ground chocolate, instant coffee, 96 proof sugarcane alcohol, and most importantly, leche bronca. Literally translated as wild milk, leche bronca is unpasteurized milk squeezed straight from the udder into a cup.
Chulada. Pura calidad, compa.
Le echamos de una vez a alfa de una vez.
¿Cuál Starbucks? Ni que nada, miren.
No, cuando, güey.
Miren. Chulada.
When we take into account that the largest and oldest migration stream of immigrants from Mexico to the US is from Mexico's west central region, it's no surprise that the practice has immigrated as well, despite restrictions in the US on the consumption of unpasteurized milk and the sale of alcohol without a liquor license. Pajarete is not just the word for the drink. It's also the word used to describe the physical spaces where the drink is sold and the social activities that take place there. In the US, many Mexican immigrants and their children continue the tradition. That was a video from among the 45 YouTube videos I analyzed. Most of them were filmed and edited in video blog style, where content creators explain what pajarete is throughout. This format made YouTube videos on pajarete a particularly rich source of data, since I was able to learn in my participants' own words what pajarete means to them. YouTube as a field site allowed me to interact with content creators in the comment sections. I also paid special attention to the wording content creators chose to introduce their audience to the beverage through their titles, description boxes, and even their thumbnails. Here's a pajarete site in Guadalajara, Jalisco, about 10 minutes from the city's international airport. It's said that pajarete originated on rancherias, or ranches, where on early mornings farmhands would breakfast a hearty cup of pajarete and thus have the energy to carry out all the day's work. However, leche caliente is now considered more of a traditional or artisanal drink rather than an everyday breakfast. It's even gained popularity among domestic and foreign tourists traveling to the region.
Now, do I stir it or is it already mixed?
Take a sip.
I just drink it? Wow.
How do you feel?
Wow. Drunk.
And here's where you can get a pajarete in the small town of La Presa, Colima, just south of the Colima-Jalisco border. I've been going to the Leche Caliente for as long as I can remember. For me, and for many of the participants I interacted with, La Leche Caliente is more than a barn party, and more than a reason to get together. The landscape of a pajarete site is one that makes those that consider themselves the rancho or farm people feel at home. Many Mexicans from rural west central Mexico who immigrate to the US usually arrive in urban centers, drawn by the promise of work. But immigrating to a city can be jarring for people from rural backgrounds. This can be explained by the term geographic habitus, which is the idea that our thoughts, tastes, behaviors, and preferences are shaped by the landscapes and built environments that we become used to and comfortable in growing up. So a person's geographic habitus will be different if they grew up here, or here, or here. When people move to new places, as is the case with transnational immigration, their geographic habitus is either reinforced if the new location resembles their home, or disrupted if it does not. Leche Caliente sites all over the US recreate rural environments for the Mexican immigrant. They provide spaces where attendees can integrate rancho preferences and behaviors into their new, and often more urban, realities. Pajarete sites are particularly important for the children of immigrants who may never have experienced a rural lifestyle themselves. For them, the Leche Caliente provides a space to authenticate their claim to a rural identity through activities like riding a horse for the first time, learning about the care of animals, or learning to milk a cow or goat. For example, this content creator attempts to milk a goat and is ultimately successful. In an interview with her, I was able to learn more about her family history. And in light of that, the exchange between her and her aunt is interesting. Her aunt asks her who she is, and the content creator responds that she is a chivera, or goat herd, though she is not. Her aunt asks her where she is from, and the content creator responds that she is from a town in Mexico, though she is not. She responded as such because her father was a chivero, and her parents are from La Soledad and Tecomatan. When she is milking the goat, she is recognized as being Mexican and even identifies as a chivera, though she was born in the US and has never formally looked after goats the way her father did. La Leche Caliente is a place where people like the content creator we just saw can develop rural tastes. People unaccustomed to pajarete may find the warmth and frothy texture of the beverage strange or unappetizing. For this reason, Leche Caliente sites can be very important spaces in the socialization of those whose parents recognize rural backgrounds.
Sí, esa es nuestra meta de llevarlo, pues obviamente también en Las Vegas o en California, pero también cuando vayamos a México, al rancho, de llevarlo con su abuelo a que pruebe el pajarete, que se acostumbre, también las tradiciones que me gustaban a mí y que también él enseña sus futuros y su cultura. Que no le dé grima.
During our interview, this participant clarified that not just anyone from Jalisco enjoys pajarete. He told me that he has friends who are from Jalisco and that they're grossed out by the drink. But he explains that this is because they're not too familiar with the practice and, importantly, because they're city people. Though his son is an infant at the time of our interview, this participant is already planning ahead to a time when he can start the process of introducing him to pajarete, so he doesn't feel disgusted by it when he's older. It's important to note that Leche Caliente sites don't simply attract other Latinx immigrants or even Mexican immigrants and their families. They attract Mexicans and Mexican Americans who are from the rural West Central region of Mexico specifically. This is a key distinction because attendees have much more in common than a title as homogeneous as Latinx or Mexican would convey. Community building and networking at these sites are done much more quickly due to a real and sometimes exaggerated sense that everyone who's there is from a similar background. One participant explained that when he and his wife moved to a new city, they were looking for a place to connect with older Mexicans specifically. They wanted the cultural involvement and community, but were unsure where to look for it. By chance, a compadre or friend of his told him this city also had Leche Caliente. The participant was surprised to discover this, but considered finding a Leche Caliente site an answer to his search for community. Another participant told me about his uncle who was in the construction business and moved to a new town. He struggled to find work until he located a Leche Caliente. After religiously attending pajarete every weekend, he, quote, started talking to people, and that's where he did his networking for construction, end quote. Stories like these were common in interviews, revealing that going to pajarete is important for Mexican immigrants and their families in several ways. Not only are there concrete examples of Leche Caliente sites acting as places for attendees to build community and social capital, going to pajarete is also a welcome reprieve from urban living and the urban landscape. In interviews and in the videos I analyzed, participants associated pajarete with tranquility and nature. I leave you with the words of one of my participants. Con toda la plática que hemos tenido, me recuerdo de mi rancho, de donde son mis papás. Lo que tengo en la mente es que ahí en el rancho de nosotros en Jalisco, estamos a una altura más alta y te tienes que ir a las montañas y ahí tomamos el pajarete. Normalmente estás arriba de las nubes. Luego va amaneciendo y empieza a salir el sol y miras poquito. Ya ves casas y notas que estás arriba de las nubes. No te imaginas lo a gusto que se puede tomar un pajarete con el frío y tú con una chamarra y con tu lechita bien calientita y mirando un paisaje así verde y foggy. Y eso es amazing. Si no lo han probado, lo tienen que probar. El pajarete is just one of a kind.